Yeah, guy in a big depot.
Tuesday, 3:22 p.m. Nelson Search and Rescue raced to the site of a snowmobiling accident near Kootenai Pass in the Selkirk mountain range, an area prone to deadly avalanches. On board the helicopter is team leader Chris Armstrong, medical doctor Mike Guinness, and veteran avalanche technician John Tweedy.
There was widespread avalanching on the east
Ken
side.
Gaddick from nearby Creston was snowmobiling in the backcountry with his son and a friend when he drove straight over an abandoned mine shaft. The snowmobile barely made it across the opening, and Ken fell backwards, tumbling a staggering 30 meters down a series of steep inclines and vertical drops. Badly injured, he's now trapped partway down the shaft, unable to move.
When I read the pager, it came across the cell phone, snowmobiler in a mine shaft in avalanche terrain. It was kind of like, oh, well, what is this, a test?
Apparently 8 kilometers up the Bayonne.
A call to stand by has been placed to mine and cave rescue experts in the region. Old mine shafts can be extremely dangerous because of loose rocks, falling debris, deadly gases, or lack of oxygen. Rescuers have died inside mines while attempting to save others.
If we can do the rescue safely, we'll do it. If not, I would stand by, secure the area, and we'd wait, whether an hour or 12 hours, for mine rescue to show up.
They're fresh both ways, but if you could see which way the last...
With limited information about the exact location of the accident, the team is forced to search for snowmobile tracks in the dense forest below.
Let's follow that one. Is it fresh on there? Just give me a sec here. There's a road hiking up.
Within minutes, those tracks lead them directly to their target.
See him? See 3 of them or one bigger? There's an old mine right there. 12 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Right up on top there. Affirmative, we found location.
When the helicopter came around to the right angle, you could see the mine shaft. It was 10, 12 feet square, big black hole in the side of the mountain. Totally blew me away. Thought, what the heck is that doing there?
I'd say we're pretty safe, eh? No, you're good, Chris. Okay,
From his vantage point in the helicopter, avalanche technician John Tweedy gives Chris the green light to proceed with the rescue.
John, watch that tree on your side for me. Got it. Are we okay there?
A small group of snowmobilers eager to help brief Chris on the situation.
How is he secured to this rope?
I believe
He secured himself down there.
Yeah.
So he's on the line now?
Yes.
How far down is he?
He's right there now. I believe he's with the other 2 guys.
Okay, my name's Chris. I'm with Nelson Search and Rescue. Who do I have down here?
We got Steve and my dad Ken is the one that's hurt.
Steve and Ken, is that it? Trevor. Okay, nobody move, okay? We're gonna get ropes.
To his surprise, he finds not 1, but 3 men inside the shaft. Ken's son Steve and family friend Trevor had climbed down to rescue him. Using a snowmobile tow rope, they've managed to drag him 2/3 of the way up the shaft. All 3 men are now waiting at the bottom of the first vertical drop, about 7 meters from the surface.
Just hang on, we're gonna get this set up a lot safer and get an attendant down there to help you guys out, okay?
Seeing those guys down in the hole told me 2 very important things. Number 1, they have a good air atmosphere. They've been in there for hours. Number 2, they're on a stable platform. They're in a place where they're not going to be able to fall down further.
You guys, what's the situation with Ken down there, guys?
Dr. Mike Guinness assesses Ken's condition as best he can, given the distance.
Been conscious the whole time?
Miraculously, the subject appears to have broken only an arm and a foot.
Okay, helmet coming down, watch for rocks.
Chris lowers Trevor's helmet down to ensure that everyone is protected against falling rocks and heavy snow.
The SAR truck there yet?
It's at the pass.
As dusk approaches, search and rescue members, including rope technicians from Nelson, Caslow, Rossland, and Creston, arrive on snowmobiles provided by local snowmobiling clubs.
We're pretty much set up here. We just got to dig a bit of a trench and get things going. We got lots of good people up here, so this should go pretty smooth.
Belay ready?
With the haul system in place, the rope team lowers attendant Randy Lall down the steep slope to the first ledge, where the 3 men are huddled.
On the ramp, a little more slack.
The 2 uninjured subjects use flashlights to illuminate the scene as Randy checks Ken for head and spinal injuries.
When we arrive on scene with a subject, we really want to assess their state of mind. Are they alert? Are they panicked at all? So Ken was very alert and was able to communicate fine. He was anxious to get out.
Ken is strapped into a screamer suit, a harness specifically designed for short hauls. The screamer suit is hooked to Randy's line, allowing Ken to dangle under him while he uses his feet to scale the rock wall.
What becomes more challenging is on the slopes, because at that point the subject often is on the ground still, and you physically have to pick the person up and drag or skid them along. And then we explained this to Ken at the start, that this is where there would be some discomfort to him.
Dr. Mike Guinness attaches splints to Ken's broken arm and foot before securing him into a rescue toboggan. Above ground now, Ken's sons Steve and Trevor join a snowmobile team assigned to tow the injured subject down to the nearest road where an ambulance awaits.
I couldn't imagine falling in that hole, pinballing, bouncing off all those rocks, not knowing what was up or down, and landing in the dark, hurt, nobody around. It's quite an event he went through.
I was taking one more run up the hill and went between two trees and over a slight rise, and immediately in front of me was the large hole.
Ken is thrown backwards into the dark chasm. His snowmobile wedges into a snowbank, teetering precariously over the mouth of the mine shaft.
I was very and instantly afraid that the machine was going to follow me down the hole and land on me. But that fear quickly went away as I hit the ground and started rolling backwards into a series of head over heels kind of somersaults. I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to stop. How far am I going to go? When am I going to stop?
After crashing and tumbling down over 30 meters, Ken finally comes to a stop.
All of a sudden, I was sitting upright on a little bit of gravel in complete darkness. And it's not that it's dark, it's that there is a complete and total absence of light. You can do whatever you want, squint, hold up your hand, there's just nothing to see.
Meanwhile, Steve and Trevor are at the mouth of the mine shaft, fearing the worst.
It was scary, not knowing what had happened because you didn't hear anything and how far he actually was down. We didn't think he was that far down.
Steve scrambles down to the bottom of the first drop.
At that point, he could hear his dad clear enough.
A longtime member of the Kokanee Country Snowmobiling Club, Ken knew instantly what had to be done.
I said, you have to send Trevor for search and rescue right away, but I did ask Steve to stay in the hole and talk to me so that I wasn't left alone down there.
While Trevor makes his way back to town, Ken and Steve sit tight, trying to stay positive.
I had a couple of those irrational type fears where I started thinking stupid things about what if the mine shaft collapses or a big rock comes down, and I quite literally just chose to push those out of my mind because there wasn't anything I could do about that anyway.
After contacting search and rescue, Trevor joins Steve at the first ledge in the shaft. They tie a flashlight to a backpack and lower it down the tunnel with a rope.
Again, it wasn't a straight drop, it was around a couple of corners. I didn't think it was going to get to me, but finally it did. All of a sudden it was within reach and I grabbed it.
In severe pain, but determined to climb his way back up the mine shaft, Ken ties the rope around his torso, and Steve and Trevor drag him up towards their position.
We were pulling so hard that the rope had no more stretch in it. When he was hanging in the air, you could hear it in his voice that it was hurting a lot.
Everything was on the table at that moment. It could have either gone horribly wrong or it could have worked. And as it turned out, obviously it worked.
Now huddled together at the first junction and facing a dangerous 7-meter, nearly vertical climb, the three men hear the sweet sound of professional help arriving on scene.
It was a relief when we heard the helicopter coming in. It just felt like it was coming to an end.
To me, the ordeal had been going on for a long time. But cresting the surface of the snow, and about the first face I saw was of my other son, Dan, who looked down and asked me if I was okay, which was wonderful.
If it hadn't been for Ken's strong will to survive, and the resourcefulness of Steve, Trevor, and their fellow snowmobilers, this call-out would have required many more hours and resources to complete.
The rescue itself, once we were there and figured it out, was really quite straightforward. The real challenge was organizing 26 people in the dark on the side of a mountain, getting them 8 kilometers out to the road, and being able to account for every single person and every piece of gear. That's a big job.